38 properties, totaling about $26 million. I want to talk to you about how you got there.
I was with the Saudi Royal Commission. We would pull together all of the different technical aspects of a contract for work. I was negotiating contracts with the Bin Laden family. They were tough negotiators. They were really hard people. Showed me this little bit of paper and it just said, watch out for bombs on your car. That just changed my trajectory.
Phil Verdouw, now a millionaire property developer, shares skills he's learned from the past and present that have helped shape him into the massive success he is in property today.
It's going to be a $1.2 million profit compared to $300,000. That was a great success. $450K profit on that one site.
Talk to me about handling pressure.
And these guys all dressed in black, and he had a gun, pointed it right at my face, looked up at his eyes, had this look in his eyes, and then someone at the bus who just said, hey, give him your ID. So I gave him my ID. He just wanted to know who I was, what I was doing coming into Lima. It's like a feeling. You get a feeling about where you're in and what you're, all your pressure situations. It's about.
Phil truly has an incredible life story, filled with lessons we can all learn from to become more solid within ourselves, as well as better property investors. My name's Todd Sloan. You're listening to the Pizza and Property Podcast, and this is my chat with Phil Verdouw. 38
properties. You got 5 projects underway. 4 projects underway. My mistake, though. Totaling about $26 million. That's huge, Phil.
It is when you say it like that. But I just get in and do the work and do what I need to do, and it's like I've got capacity to fit more in when I can find the sites.
Now, I want to talk to you about how you got there, because right now you're in a position that a lot of people want to be in. You're developing properties full time. That's what you do.
Yes, full time.
And you work. Your son's in the business now too.
My son has joined the business. He's been with me now 18 months.
Okay. Can we rewind a bit first before we get into the property side of things? Can we talk a little bit about, I guess, where you came from, how it all started?
I mean, I grew up in Tasmania, 6 brothers. We got in a very construction-oriented family. My uncles owned a construction company. I joined them as an apprentice carpenter.
How old?
I was 16.
Okay.
So I spent 4 years doing an apprenticeship with them. While in my last year of my apprenticeship, I started night school to do a foreman's certificate to get into project management and running the projects down there.
So apprenticeship's 3 years or 4 years back?
4 years,
4 years.
But 3 years of study, 1 year of just full-time work with the employer.
Okay.
And in that 4th year, I just took it on myself to go to night school and learn more.
So you're like 19, 20 years old, already going, it's time to upskill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that, and then went to night school. Spent 4 years going to night school. Learned business management, project management skills, etc. A little bit of engineering, a little bit of all different cost management, etc. Across all the project life, if I can put it that way.
Construction's obviously in the blood. It's in the family.
It's in the family. We're all in construction. All have been to one form or another in construction.
And so some people might pause right here and be like, well, this is why he's a property developer. But being in construction or being a builder and being a developer are still 2 very different things.
Completely. That has not helped me in any way, shape or form to be a developer, being a builder. And I had a conversation with a young guy last Saturday night who's a carpenter, and he said to me, I'm a carpenter, I can be a developer. I said, don't even think about it, mate. I started that way. I can guarantee you it will not help you be a developer, because the development side is a completely different process. And it's more mind, it's more of your mind and how you can cope with all the no's and the naysayers and all the negative feedback around you, and how you keep pushing through. You have to keep pushing through. And it's that part that sets you out as a good developer.
You and I were chatting a little bit before we started recording, and you've got an incredible life, Phil, and you seem to be quite modest to it. The way that you were telling some amazing stories, you're just like, it's just
what it was.
Yeah. I can't help but think that it's probably part of what shaped you to have a strong enough mindset to do this as like a full-time gig, because there's some, again, like you said, saying 26 million in projects sounds great, but there's been some pretty big ups and downs to actually get to that point.
Definitely, yeah.
Before we get to the property side with that, can you talk to me a little bit about your corporate career, where it took you?
I started with an American company back in '96. I went up to Gladstone, worked on a big smelter upgrade or expansion up there, and then I went overseas. Then I started going to Peru. Went to Peru. That was an incredible project, up 15,000 feet up in the mountains, and that was high altitude work. And it was I was there in hospital in the project hospital there 3 times on a drip to get.
This is because of the altitude.
Because of the altitude, yeah.
How'd you
I
feel
thought
when
I
you
was
came
drinking
down?
plenty of water. Sorry?
How'd you feel when you came down?
Oh, amazing. When you come down, every 6 weeks we would come down, and the feeling was just like you could run 10 miles so easily. If you're a 5K runner, you would do 10K just incredibly easily. It was so the feeling was incredible. There was we used to have a bit of fun. We'd have a bottle of water on the way when we're up there and have it sitting with us on the way down. By the time we got down, the whole bottle was just completely crushed from the pressure, the difference in air pressure outside to what was inside the bottle after we'd put the lid back on. That's the difference in air pressure at that altitude is incredible. Yeah.
I know just from my skydiving background that when you get up to 15,000 feet, you're not staying there very long because you start going higher, or even at 15,000 for long enough, your decision making is terrible. Like hypoxia is a huge risk, and you're just living in it at that stage, and making huge construction based decisions because you're at that stage an engineer. Is that right?
I was in contracts and procurement.
Okay.
That's what I did when I joined a big American company. They were a global organisation. I was there. I started as contracts and procurement, just doing contracts, etc. And then there that was my first management role. Become a contracts manager for one of the stages of the project.
So contracts and procurement. So you're a deal maker.
The contract side of things, we would pull together all of the different technical aspects of a contract for work. So we were getting a civil contractor come in, would put all the bits and pieces together for that contract, from the technical side, from the construction perspective, all the way through to the safety side and everything in between. And I'd bring all that documentation together, and I would then send it out for tender, and then I'd bring all the different contractors in and negotiate their tenders with them, and then award the contract. So we would then bring everybody. I would coordinate all of the different expertise within the project team to bring their input in to do their assessment of the tenders, and then when we all agreed on what the outcome was, then I would then issue the award notice to the winning contractor.
You say being a builder hasn't really helped being a developer, but it sounds like that kind of level of organisation and focus on pulling deals together, that must have been a help.
That was more project management skills in that organisation. So from a builder, and when I talk about being a builder, I'm talking about being a carpenter, joiner, building a house, putting a house together. It's a skill set, and you can be really good at that, but you may not be a great businessman. You may not be a great organiser or a great coordinator. When I went from being a builder and carpenter and joiner into the major construction area, I was just a small little player learning his way up in working with people that are far more experienced than I was at the time, obviously, and learning how projects are actually managed and coordinated. And this American company that I work for, amazing. They had the best processes and systems, and made projects an absolute breeze to work on.
So for anyone that's maybe a bit younger now, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, looking at what you're doing now in the property development space, and thinking, well, how do I upskill? Would you recommend people go and work in this kind of environment first, or do you think no, there's probably a better way, or what's your thoughts around that?
Look, educating yourself is absolutely critical. Always educate. So I spent my time, I got a bit unhappy working in the corporate world. I didn't like the politics of it all. So I spent a lot of time just researching internet and looking at property development and reading books on it, reading about stories about people who have done well in it, etc. It might be a bit of a controversial subject, but Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he's a damn good property developer. and he's done some interesting projects.
He was actually one of the first books I ever read,
Yeah.
Donald Trump 101. It's
Yeah.
back in like 2006, I reckon it was, before he was the Donald Trump that he is now.
It's all about deal making and bringing it all together, and learning. And I read, but I did learn in this big American company. I learned a lot of the processes that I use today in that organisation from a management perspective. But then how to do property development, that's a whole different. You get a lot of people telling you what you have to do in property development, but there's only one person that would ever credit my experience and success, and that's Rob Flux at Property Development Network. I went and did his course. I'd done a few beforehand. I did his course, and then it's like everything. He also explained to us what we had to do, but then he showed us how to do it. He showed me how to knuckle down and how to get focused. And because before him, I was just a scattergun. I was trying to find sites, etc., and not really had one site. And that was a great success. That 450K profit on that one site, 3 townhouses was brilliant. And then nothing. And then I was trying to find sites, etc., and just could not make anything, just couldn't land anything.
Okay, so find someone that will teach you how to fish instead of giving you a fish.
Yes.
That's what I'm really hearing.
Don't just take the fishing rod off them.
Yeah.
How do you use your fishing rod?
Yeah. Okay.
And Rob is brilliant at that. Rob has done a fantastic, follow the process. And I had a business coach along with Rob. Rob together, and we just kept saying, follow the process, and it will happen. And I did. And I had nerves. I had days when I went, this isn't going to work. What the hell am I doing here? I had pressure, marital pressures about go and get a job. This is ridiculous what you're doing, and a lot of other external pressure of people telling me that you're wasting your time. And I just thought
it would have been much easier to throw in the towel.
Would have been incredibly easy to throw in the towel.
And this is one of the big reasons why I want to chat with you, because I just can't help but think there's so many people out there that have all of this potential, but have all of that pressure as well. Because you're not alone in that. There'd be a lot of other people out there thinking, unfortunately, I can relate to this guy. But by giving into it, you're saying no to a life of, and we're not even getting into your personal situation now, but then you and I chatting off air, you got a pretty good life. It sounds like it.
I'm an incredibly lucky man. I have a wonderful life. I have a lovely partner. She's absolutely amazing. And where I've been and the ups and downs from that have built me and created the person I am today.
Talk a little bit more about deal making.
Okay.
You said a name before that I was shocked to hear you say.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit more about working in the Middle East?
The Middle East. That was probably the most uncomfortable project I've ever worked on. I was with the Royal Commission there, the Saudi Royal Commission, working with the same American company that had taken me over to Peru and other places. And I was negotiating contracts with the Bin Laden family, the construction side of it. And then one day, one of the guys in the office and the management side of things walked up to me and showed me this little bit of paper, and it just said, "Watch out for bombs on your car." This is to put the context around it properly. This was in July, August, just before September 11 occurred.
Okay, so what is that, 2000, 2001?
2001, and I was in Saudi at the Royal Commission, and they said, watch out for bombs on your car. And I went, what for? I thought, what am I looking for? I didn't know what to look for. Had quite a few people come up, the locals come up to me and go, happy, what's that American 4th of July?
Yeah, 4th of
and
July.
They come up to me and go, mate, sorry, I'm not American, I'm Australian. I kept having to tell people I was Australian. But it was interesting. I had a Saudi government card to drive around in because I had to get out of the country every 2 weeks. They just said, watch out for bombs. And I thought, what am I looking for? Do I look for gelignite? Do I, sticks of jelly underneath the car? What's going on? In the end, I just thought, you know what? If I get blown up, I get blown up. I'm probably not even going to feel it.
So this was before the name Bin Laden means what it means today.
I didn't even know who Bin Ladens were, but when I got home just before it all happened, and obviously I didn't go back. And I thought, and then the names started coming up on the news, and I went back and looked at all my material that I sort of kept from my time in Saudi, and there it was. The construction family was. I was negotiating contracts with them, and it's sort of like it was an interesting thing. It's not. They were tough negotiators. That my memory is they were really hard people.
Because they're a very wealthy family, aren't they?
Very wealthy families. So that they are, and they only. I imagine they would only employ pretty switched on people.
Yeah.
And they were confident, very confident in their business.
Talk to me about handling pressure. Because even just the way that you recall the story, the way that you were talking off air before, you seem to talk about what I view as quite a high pressure situation with a real sense of calm.
It's about feeling the situation. It's about understanding where you're at with something. So I've had situations when I was in Peru, for example. As an example, I came down on the bus one day from up in the mountain, and these guys come
watching
on
the water bottle crush.
Watching the water bottle crush, and I came down and these guys all dressed in black balaclavas coming with machine guns onto the bus, 2 of them, and I looked at the guy and he had the gun pointed right at my face, and it was like straight at my nose, the machine gun. Looked like an AK-47, but I don't know. Guns are just, it's a movie, so
it's a machine gun.
A machine gun. It had a big thing of bullets in it, so who knows what it was. It was black, and he was all in black, and I thought, oh, shit, this isn't good.
I should pay attention.
Yeah. So I looked up at his eyes, and his eyes, he just had this look in his eyes. I thought, oh, this is all right. It's okay. And then someone at the bus who understood Spanish, because I didn't know, my language skills weren't that good then. He said to me, he just said, hey, give him your ID. So I gave him my ID, and he took off and went to the next person. He just wanted to know who I was and what I was doing coming into Lima at the time, because there was an inauguration going on. So it's like a feeling. You get a feeling about where you're in and what you're, all your pressure situations. It's about understand the feeling that you're going through, your gut, your intuition about that moment. What is that moment doing? And what are the consequences of your reactions or actions? And then act accordingly.
Can't help but think that serves you very well in property development.
I think it has. My second project was at a very interesting little time. There was water on the road, the overland flow. And we put it into council for quick, the fast process, but it got knocked back. And then my town planner at the time was a little bit inexperienced, but he's good. But he said, "I feel there's 800 millimetres of water out the front. You're not going to get this subdivision." In the meantime, I've already put 40 grand into the project of my own money, and this was going to cause me all sorts of grief. And I thought, oh, here we go. This isn't good, but I had to sort it out. There's a problem. I got onto Rob Flux, talked to him. Rob put me onto his town planner. We talked to him. I got a stormwater report done, and the stormwater report should not have gone into council. I did not send it into council. I was recommended do not send that in. But as there were other houses up there, etc., it all went through in the end. But there was a time when I thought, here we go, my second project in, I'm in all sorts of trouble. Yep. I better fix this. And rather than go, oh, I can't do this, I better quit, I just went, no, we'll find a solution. And we do. Every single problem has a solution.
I keep asking a lot of my successful friends and acquaintances that are parents, because my wife and I are now expecting, and I want to make sure I'm raising the best little person I can. And it's about like, what are the things, the common sort of threads? And the 2 common threads seem to be make sure you get them into sport so they understand a challenge and have something solid to focus on. And the second thing is show, don't tell. Like, so if you want your kids to be hardworking and doing stuff, but you're sitting on the couch eating Doritos, telling them to work hard, well, they're probably not going to be hardworking kids.
They're not going to do it.
I'm interested to know, where did it come from for you? Is this influence from mum and dad? Were mum and dad just always like solid problem solvers? Or is this something that you were the sporty kid and you've always just overcome it? Like, how did this come into your character?
Bit of both. I love sport, and I played AFL as a kid and soccer for primary school and then in high school and then for one of the league clubs in Hobart as an under-17 team. So playing footy was part of it, but also my parents. My parents were very religious, but they were very pragmatic. My mum was an incredibly hard worker. She took her learnings from Holland and then became a matron of a nursing home here in Australia. So she went back and did school, went to Melbourne for 3 months away from the family while she studied to get her Australian certificates. Dad was he started out as a farmhand in one of the sheep farms in Tasmania, become a panel beater, then did insurance, salesman. He just pushed himself out there. He just went out and just went for it. Very, very proud of my parents, both of them real go-getters. And they led by example. And then we can build on that. My brothers they're all really incredibly successful in their own rights, in their own careers and what they're doing. We just don't give up. Mm-hmm. We just do not give up. When the things get tough, just keep going. My children, they're all doing different things. My son works with me. When problems arise, he's a great problem solver. And my daughters, they're all in media in one form or another, in entertainment, and they're up against it. In that it's a tough industry to be in, and they ring me up and, Dad, what about this problem? And we talk through it, and then I say, don't give up, keep going. Whenever everybody else tells you to stop, just keep going.
There's always something.
Just keep going.
Just keep going. You're like the little train that could.
It's interesting. My first marriage, my ex-wife, she would always tell me, just go and get a job. She wanted me to work, and I understand it because it gave her, it made her feel insecure. Me trying to do
a lot
this.
Of people.
Yeah. And I just felt like, and in the end, whenever she tell me go and get a job, I go, just keep going.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because the chat you and I had off air, I was really surprised because the career you described to me, incredibly qualified. You've got so many runs on the board, but then you hit a point where it was like, okay, I will get another job, but then you found that difficult, and that was a piece of the transition, wasn't it?
That was a big part of really big part of the transition. To be quite honest, I'd done a project, the first one, and I went back into the corporate world instead of going on in property development. At the time, I went back and got a job again because that's what my ex-wife wanted. Mm-hmm. And then I just hit a wall. I couldn't do it anymore. I just did not want to do it anymore. I was there for a year on this major project down south, and then I just took a year off. Took a whole year off work, off everything, and just lived off almost all the savings, etc., that we had at the time.
So you're a pretty good budgeter?
Look, I have to be now, but no, I'm not pretty good.
Okay.
I could be a lot better, I can tell you now. But I knew what I had to live on, and I can live on the smell of an oily rag if I have to.
Yeah. Okay.
I can cut right back when I need to, and I can live the high life when I want to.
Okay.
So I can do both pretty easily. But where was I going? But I was looking for work, and I would keep I'd get interviews. And then they would come back to me and say, "Oh, look, you know what? You don't have the right. Your experience doesn't fit what we want right now." Now, my experience, being a global manager, working around the world, building the business systems for companies, mm-hmm. and then implementing them within the company, mm-hmm. Wasn't good enough for these other companies. And these were jobs that I could do with my eyes closed.
From what you were saying, that was the problem. They were like, this guy's overqualified, but we're not actually going to use those words.
He's not going to use those words, yeah. And that's how it felt to me that I was just overqualified and could not get work. Look, and then I went into I was encouraged to go to Centrelink to try and get some cash, and I thought, what am I doing this for? This is my ex. She wanted me to go to Centrelink. I went to Centrelink, and they had me doing these job things, and I sat there and went, look, this is ridiculous. You're asking me to go. These people are never going to hire me. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't want to be hired by them. I had that point in my mind. I was focusing at that time fully on becoming a property developer and finding a way to do that. And I was doing a lot of training and educating as much as I could. And that's when I come across Rob's course. I had already been with Rob's meetup group back in 2013, 2012, 2013, I'd started with him. And I went, and then when I went away, came back, I went back again. And then I took up his course. And that just changed my trajectory. He put me on a course for success. It was brilliant.
So you talked about one of the first projects that you picked up after actually really going, okay, I'm really learning this now. I've not only got the rod, but I've been taught. Talk to me about that first project that you found.
The first project, I'd written a whole bunch of letters, sent them all out. I had a response from this young couple. They had a house in Camp Hill. And
in Brizzy? Yep.
In Brisbane. And then I thought, oh, well, this isn't going to go anywhere because I've had plenty of conversations with people and it didn't go anywhere. He rings up and he says, we'll accept your offer. I went, oh, shit, that's good. All right.
I wasn't ready for
all of a sudden, we're in. Anyway, and then I just went into it. I signed a contract and did that. And I thought, okay, now where am I going to get the money from?
So you signed the contract first?
Yeah.
You got balls.
Well,
were you uncon or were you?
What happened was that's in itself is a bit of a journey for me because I went into property development thinking when I sign a contract, I've signed it, I've got to see it through.
Yep.
And I was sitting with this guy who he said to me, oh, I sign 10 contracts, in a week if I have to. And then if they work, I'll see them through. If they don't, I'll just crash them.
So you're putting in different clauses, like your different subject twos to protect yourself.
Yeah, to protect yourself. And that's what he does and what he did. And I thought, oh, okay. So I just went out, signed up a contract to see if I could do it. Sure enough, I could. And it cured me from my fear of signing up a contract and not being able to crash it. And now I signed something to get it off the market so I can actually have a closer look at it. And to confirm that it works. So I already know whether it will work or not when I go into it before I sign my contract. I'm pretty confident of it, but then I do the deep dive due diligence on it and look for the things that aren't readily available.
And is this through like a DD clause or a sub-finance clause?
Yeah, there's a due diligence clause, there's a finance clause. They're the two that I always use because if due diligence doesn't stack up, I walk away. And if due diligence doesn't stack up, I'm not going to get the finance.
One after another anyway. There's not going to be finance if there's no DD done properly.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to have them both because something might pop up in due diligence or you may not see it in due diligence because it's hidden and you haven't dug deep enough. And then you come along and then finance might pop up something that makes it look a bit of an anomaly and you crash it at that time.
All right, so you've signed a contract.
Yes.
You're looking at this deal going, all right, time to get finance. And you're going to the bank, you're going to private money, where are you going?
No, private money. The banks wouldn't lend me, didn't even try the banks. I knew the banks wouldn't even look at me. So I just reached out and said, here, I put my hand up. Anyone got some money? and this guy came along and he said, yeah, I've got some cash. And he had just enough to do the purchase and to do the DA.
Just for anyone that's a little bit newer right now, there's a little bit more to it than what Phil's saying. But just picture someone being like, I can do that.
Well, it's like when I look to put a bit more context around it. When I started the process and I had this deal, and I thought this deal works. I was talking to my coach, but I don't have anyone. He said, Phil, don't worry about it. And this is really stuck in my mind, and I use this all the time, even today. If the deal works, the money will come.
So when you say works, what kind of ROI are we talking?
The deal makes a profit.
No, I meant more so what kind of ROI are we talking on the fees? Like 20%, like 30%, 10%?
It depends on we target 20% per annum.
Yep.
But if it's a 3-month project, okay, it's not going to be 20%. It's going to be somewhere like to be a third of that or a quarter of that might be. But I was targeting 10% at the time, so that was going to be over 4 months. That was going to be like a 30% return on the money.
That's pretty amazing.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. What I didn't count on, and I let all my learnings of contracts management out the window at this time because I was just so thrilled to get this money and get going with the project. I just wanted the project to go. And then his lawyer said, "Oh, we want this change." I read the changes and went, "Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, look, I understood all the changes that he made. I understood every single one of them."
Can you open any of them up?
Yeah, there was one there that if for some reason that the market that we didn't achieve a certain price point, that those losses will come off my share of the profit, not off his share of the profit. That's in a nutshell what it would. But the words are a little bit more complex than that.
Legal.
A bit more legal than that. And I knew that. I understood the risks associated with that because I understood contracts. I knew it fully well. And then COVID hit. We signed the contract. We got cracking on the project. I pulled the house down.
Yeah, right.
And then COVID hit. And prices dived. And then and this is where I learned about agents and how useless most agents are. And this one agent, he said, he promised me, he made these ridiculous promises. We'll get $670,000 a lot.
And what should you have got? Like what were your
645, 655 is what I was looking at.
So you reckon he was trying to buy the listing off you?
He was, yeah, exactly what he was doing, just buying it. And then when he got the listing, and then when he the first offer came in at 615.
Okay.
And I said, no. And he came back to me and said, oh, I thought you would have, signed up for, maybe 5,000 more. And I said, no, you promised me 670. I told you I want 645 for that lot. And you got 615? I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I just stuck to my guns. I'm not going to give stuff away. Sure enough, he went away. I found a new agent, and she was young, and I thought, oh, she's too young. She's not going to be any good. My God, she's proven me wrong. She's been absolutely brilliant. She's now sold 18 properties for me. And the first two she did, and she got 645 for the one, and then she didn't quite get, because of COVID, we couldn't quite get the 655 for the other one, but close enough, and we still made 120 grand, 140,000 out of the project. The only problem is the losses came off my side of the deal, not his.
Okay. So what did you end up walking away with?
I walked away with $23,000.
Wow.
Yes. Lesson, you know what? I knew exactly what I was getting into. I knew the risks. I understood it because I understood contracts. So the risk was mine to manage.
So you don't go broke taking a profit. So I guess it's still, at least you didn't walk away with zero or negative.
Yeah.
But that must have been a hard pill to swallow still.
And again, this is where my mind comes in. I had this other one in Laden that was at the same time with the water along the front.
Yep.
So
this is one you were talking about before 800 mil of water.
800 mil of water going overland flow apparently anyway. And then so I thought, here we go. But I ended up making 200K on that one, which was like 80K more than what I expected to make.
So you're kind of looking at this like, yeah, swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts.
Can we give a shout out to your agent then? Because she sounds like she's a gun.
Felicity Harden from Harden Property.
Okay.
Absolute gun agent. She would have to be the best agent I have ever come across. She has increased my profits on projects beyond my expectation.
And just to clear for anyone listening, none of this is a paid presentation from Rob or Felicity, but I'm just always happy to give credit where credit's due. And that sounds like you've gone from one agent telling you need to accept a loss basically to someone else just being an absolute weapon for you.
Absolute weapon. Felicity will come in and she's very conservative, and I'm conservative in my price points. So we match well in that regard. And often she'll be a little bit less than what I think it would be. So she's a little bit more conservative because she's honest. She's genuinely honest about what the market's doing. And then she works her guts out and gets me more than what I thought I would get.
This first deal, you made $23,000 on it still.
Yep.
Sounds like you learned a lot from it.
Yeah, it did.
Sharpened up a little bit more of your previous contract knowledge to go like, I understand what I'm doing, but is that maybe something that you looked at moving forward to go, probably not going to accept clauses like that?
I don't allow anyone to change any clauses, which is, I never used to do that with all these I would work with these major global construction companies doing tenders for me, and they would come in and want to change clauses, and I go, no, you're not going to change it. Sorry. You work out how to make your job work, knowing what that clause requires from you. And that's now what I do with anyone that comes in. Work out what that means to you. And if you want to go to your solicitor, absolutely go to your solicitor, but work out what it means to you and how you're going to manage yourself, knowing that clause is in the agreement. It's important because I need to manage the project. The documents are written so that I can manage the project effectively without interference. So I've had situations where I've had partners panic about where the market's going and want to close everything up and take their money and run. And I have to go, no, settle down. It's not easy, but what we need to do is we need to keep pushing through, and we keep going. We keep going. We're not going to put something out there that we know the market will turn. We know where things are going. But if we stay in the deal and finish the project, we'll make a profit, and we do. Every project I've ever done has made a profit, and a good profit.
What skill do you have now that you wish you had when you started this?
Oh, look, experience is probably, who wouldn't love to have the experience I've got today to begin when I started, but
is there like a specific skill within that experience?
The skills that have developed over time is dealing with these, building the confidence to deal with with issues with people, negotiating, bringing the deals together. It's people skills. It's more people skills, I think, that grows. But from a project technical perspective, I know more about how to read town plans, how to deal with the council issues that come up. I can see the problem. Again, it's problem solving skills. It's like every problem has a solution.
And this is why, circling back, I'm assuming you're saying, yeah, being a builder is great, but that's not actually what being a developer is. Because when you're building a house, your people skills don't really need to be very strong.
No, because you can yell and scream at someone and things get done because everyone's got a document, everyone's got a plan, everyone's working to that. Everyone can see what they've got to do. Here, you're creating what you have to do. You, as a developer, you're creating it, and you're creating the outcome. You're managing the outcome. You're managing everybody to deliver that outcome. And I've got on one of my projects at the moment. We've got 17 lots out at Waterford West, and the amount of frustration I've had to sit back and deal with while I'm watching the consultants all come up with their reasons for all the problems, and rather than go, oh shit, we can't do this anymore, we look for the solution to that problem, and I push them for all of that. I've got probably one of the best brokers in the business at the moment. Oh, I've had two actually. There's two really good brokers, and when I have a problem from a lending perspective, I don't go to them, oh, we can't. I say, well, what can you do? I don't want to know what you can't do. I want to know what you can do. Tell me what you can do, and then they come up with a solution, and if they can't come up with something, and these new guys that I work with, they're the ones I stick with because they can do things that nobody else seems to be able to do. They don't have this can't or no that comes up in front of them. They just go, well, what do you want, Phil? I said, well, this is what I'm after. This is what I expect you to get from me. And they do it. They're brilliant.
I ask this question quite a lot. But what should people be asking a broker when they're a little bit newer at this to know that they're sitting in front of a broker like that, opposed to just an order taker that kind of quits at the first problem?
I would say to you that most finance brokers are like real estate agents. They overpromise and underdeliver. I've dealt with quite a few recently that have said, oh, we can get you funding for that project, and you pay them their mandate fee, and they don't deliver. They tell you, yep, it's coming, yep, we're working on it, and then nothing comes of what they've given you because they haven't got a wide enough scope of people that have got funds to lend. The people that I work with, they know how to find the people who have the money, who are willing to take on the project and lend to the conditions of the project. Not every project, because one of the biggest hurdles I've come across recently is a valuation came in $1 million less than what than what I know the place is worth. I know it's worth it. My agent and I, we both know that it's worth what we do put in our feasibility, because we've got real life examples of why we think that, why we believe that. And it's a big shortfall. And we go, and I talk to the valuers and go, how did you come across this? And they, for whatever reason, they bring in comparables that are completely outside of what we're producing. And so the valuer's not seeing the product that we're going to produce. And all they see is black and white. They obviously don't read the plan very well. I'm assuming they don't read it because they're not seeing the end product. They're not looking at the fixtures and fittings, and then they're not looking at comparable products based on all of what we're going to put together. And they bring in a much more inferior product, as an example, and they call that comparable. So or sometimes they even call it superior.
You're building a BMW and they're comparing it to a Kia, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's, in a nutshell, yes. And that can be very frustrating, because here's a guy or a lady that's created a valuation for you, which now my lenders have to work with. So then we've got to think outside the square. So I can say to my broker, okay, this is what we've got to work with. How are we going to fill the gap?
Does this kind of come back to what we were talking about before with kids? Like, it's kind of like lead by example, show the doing. Is it more of a don't so much pay attention to what they're saying, but look at the runs on the board that they've got? Like, see what they've done instead of what they say they can do?
Perfectly true. That I would agree with. What have they done? And then show me that you're going to keep doing that.
Started in Tassie. You're a builder. Then you get into engineering in a global management role.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah. Eventually. Yeah. So there's a bit of time.
Yeah.
I'm very much condensing years here.
Yeah, that's right.
You're doing business all over the world. You're up 15,000 feet in the air. You're even negotiating with the bin Ladens, which to me is still insane, obviously before who they are now. You're then getting overqualified later in life. You're then getting pressure from family, friends, everyone, your wife at the time, get a job. Your belief in yourself must be quite strong.
It was, very much so.
And I don't even need to ask. I know you're obviously thankful that you've done what you've done now, because you're a pretty amazing dude, Phil.
Thank you.
For anyone that's listening to this thinking, I'm stuck in a job that I don't want. I don't want to be in the corporate world anymore. I want to jump ship into this kind of stuff. We obviously already know, like, education. You've done wonderful things with Rob. We know, like, surrounding yourself with the right professionals, the right brokers, the right agents, that kind of stuff. What else does someone need to do mentally? Because I feel like when I left my job, it was more up here than anything else.
It's the biggest hurdle you have to overcome is your mind and your belief that you can actually do it. When everybody and everything around you is telling you that no, you can't, and no, you shouldn't, but you know in here that you've got what it takes, and you just keep going. When a problem comes up, you just keep going, looking for the solution. And when you might have 10, no, that's no good, it's not going to work, the 11th will work. It might be the 40th that will work. Mm-hmm. It's just keep going. And then you have to pivot. So you've got a problem and everyone's telling you no, that you can't do this job, you can't make that work. Okay, well, what am I going to do here? Okay, classic case in point is a project that I've got down in south of Brisbane here, and we do the 1 into 6. That was the whole feasibility to buy the site, mm-hmm. and it stacked up, etc. We bought the site, we started doing the DA, and I'm monitoring the market on a regular basis. And then we started looking. We got the DA through, and I went, okay, well, let's go and get the construction finance for it now. And I started seeing prices come back a lot lower than what my original comparables were, and I was thinking, hang on a minute, something's not right here. So I started looking.
This is recent?
This is recent.
Yeah. Okay.
This is about pivoting, about changing when you need to change.
Yep.
And the project was starting to look like it was going to make a loss.
Okay.
And I thought, well, okay, well, I don't want any of my projects to make a loss. I know a lot of developers out there have had projects that make losses. I just did not want any of my projects to do that. So I thought, what can I do with this site? I had another developer ring me up and say, listen, I'm interested in your site. Would you mind? Do you want to sell it? I went, yeah, okay. I'm going through my mind thinking, what the hell am I going to do with it? I said, you give me 1.4 million for it. I paid 960. Give me 1.4. I would have walked away with the profit that I thought I was going to make, and everything would have been fine. It would have been great. So he took it. He wanted a 6-month settlement, and he did his due diligence he wanted. He did put a DA for a childcare centre on it. And I went, and I was watching, so I watch all this stuff. I want to know what he's up to. And then in the end, he crashed it because the council said no. So I took the DA, went to pursue it further. The council came back and said no to me as well. And I thought, oh, okay. One of the 6 isn't going to work. The childcare centre is not going to work. What else do I do now? So I started looking at car washes, stripper shops, or a big box outlet. And they're the things. And I was talking to as many people as I could just to get feedback, etc. And then I thought, townhouses. Why don't I go for townhouses? I didn't really want to get into townhouses, and then I rang up an architect that I used on the project I did in 2014-15. And he put me onto this other guy who was fantastic. He used to work for Mirvac and created the highest and best use for sites for Mirvac as their acquisitions manager. And I got him onto the site. We had a look at it, and he came up with a solution. Turned it from one of the 6 into 17 townhouses.
Just for anyone wondering, highest and best use is when you maximise the value potential of a given site.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's a big thing to do. It's like if you can build a 20-story building, but you're only building a 2-story building, you're not going for the highest and best use.
That's right. But it's sometimes a 6-story building is better than a 10-story because of factors that go on. You've got to find the right sort of thing. But it's not. But in this case, we actually. We sat down and we worked out a solution how to get 17 townhouses on there and how they would all work. So, and he created that. We had the pre-lodgement with council. They put us up on a couple of little things. We're going to make those changes, and we're putting the DA together now to put in for 17 townhouses. And based on it, we're going. It should go through pretty smoothly.
And it's going to be the same kind of profit as before, or
massive change. It's going to be a $1.2 million profit compared to 300,000, and potentially zero because the price drops in actual land sales at the time.
But this has all come from essentially telling a story of the importance of being. I'm going to use the word relentless. Really,
you do need to be relentless. You need to be. You just need to keep going. And don't take no for an answer. Don't take any negative. The negativity will come from every side of you, every which way. Your lenders will give you, potential lenders will give you negativity. Everybody will say you can't. Know your business, know your project, know your product. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. You know your product. You know that it will work. And I've got runs on the board to show that I know what I'm doing. And I knew this would work. I knew there'd be a solution to it, whether it's commercial or residential. There's always a solution.
I normally end everything with an action step. I feel like we kind of almost said it there. But is there an action step that you think is going to be important for someone if they've listened to this and gone, I like what Phil was talking about. This is what I want to do. Something that's like pull out the earphones and they can get to work straight away.
The action step is work on yourself first.
Okay.
Focus on who you are, how you show up in everything that you do. One of the biggest lessons that I have done, or efforts that I've put into my career, my life, is working on myself. I needed to become the best version of Phil that I could be, so that when I turned up at a place, my mind was in the right place. My whole demeanour shows up as, here's a guy who I feel comfortable and can trust, because you can't get trust from your sellers, and you can't get trust from all your consultants and all the people around you that you're going to follow through and do what you say you're going to do, that just puts another hurdle in front of you.
Let's say someone's listening going, okay, I want to work on myself. Are you talking Tony Robbins style? Are you talking 75 hard cold showers every morning? Like where would someone start?
Okay, so what have I done? I've gone out and I've employed coaches, business coaches, life coaches at different times. I've read books. I read lots of books about, there's the Art of War. There's a whole bunch of books. There's books by Donald Trump, etc. All sorts of people like that. I use Donald Trump because everyone knows who he is, but everybody and I read different sort of books that look a bit good to great in business.
That's a good one.
I like that, and his second book is really good. And I when I go for walks in the morning, I'm always listening to books. I'm not listening to music. I'm listening to audio books.
So what's one of the favorites that you're reading now?
It's Building Entrepreneurship, or BE 2.0.
BE 2.0. Okay, that's another Good to Great, Jim Collins.
Yeah, it's a follow-on from his Good to Great, and it's an excellent book. It's about business. So I'm constantly working on every aspect of my own personal life to make sure that I'm at the best I can be for every situation that I do. So I've got a business coach that I work with on a holistic manner as well. Holistic from meditation. I meditate on pretty much every day. I do get some days where I don't. I'll walk. I'll read. I read books, and I read also on how to get the mind, how to deal with the ego, keep your ego in check. And I'm not 100% there. I make mistakes, but I don't beat myself up about those mistakes. I learn from them and go, okay, now I know why I did or reacted the way I did. Now I can do better next time.
I don't get a vanity feeling from you at all. And I feel like you could easily, with the runs on the board that you've got, what you're currently doing. But I think you're doing a pretty good job keeping the ego in check.
I work hard to do that. The ego can get in the way of a lot of things. It's when we react badly to a situation, the ego gets in there, and there's a fear associated with it because the ego wants to be right all the time. In what I've learned is the ego wants to be right, and it's a part of us that it's not actually helpful to us in any way, shape, or form, in my estimation.
And again, you're not talking about hammers, nails. You're not even talking about land, property, houses, anything. It's again coming back to people, but start with the first person, which is yourself.
If you're in the right place, people just automatically flock around you. They automatically come with you, automatically feel comfortable and safe with you, and start to trust you.
I've started doing cold showers every day this year. It sounds like you and I can chat a little bit more off air, but only because I hate it. It's the whole reason I do it. It's because it's the one thing I know it's good for me as well. But I've forced myself to do it because that way every morning starts with something that I know is good for me, but I don't want to do it because then it's an exercise in self-control and commitment.
Yep.
I've committed to myself that I'm doing it, even if it's something that I don't want to do, that it's in my way. And I've actually found that's really helped just on the self-development front. Because then later on in the day, there'll be something else that I don't really want to do.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you're not the kind of person that does that, Todd. You're the kind of person that does the thing that needs to be done. And it's kind of refreshing to sit across from someone as successful as you are, to hear that it's, whilst it might not be cold showers that you're doing, but to really just that constant improvement on who you are and becoming the best version of you to help walk down that path to property success, to investing success, to just life success.
Working on myself has been the best thing I've ever done. And don't get me wrong, I still I still procrastinate. Quite often I'll find myself procrastinating about a task. But I've got the tools to stop myself and think it through, understand where I'm going, what I'm doing, and push my way through it.
Well, speaking of the better things in life, I need to ask you arguably the most important question of the entire show. Phil Verdouw, What is your favorite pizza?
My favorite pizza? Well, there's a chili prawn pizza at Sarabar Winery in Canungra, at the back of Canungra.
Chili prawn.
Yeah, Rob is he's a Canadian, and he makes the best pizzas in Australia.
This isn't Fluxy. This is a different Rob.
No, this is a Rob. Rob, the Canadian Rob, not Rob Flux. Rob Flux can't make a pizza. But it is the best pizza I've ever had in my life.
How far away is that from where we are now?
It's probably 45 minutes southwest.
Okay.
Yeah.
The best pizza I've had in my life might be worth a 45-minute drive.
I took for a motorbike ride. I love to go motorbike riding with my mates, and I take them down there, and took a new guy down with us on the weekend. And I didn't have to prompt him. He just said, "Oh, this is the best pizza I've ever had."
What's the name of the place again?
It's Sarabar Winery.
Sarabar Winery.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to a Sarabar Winery, and if anyone's nearby, sounds like it's absolutely worth trying the chili prawn.
Out the back of Canungra, you drive on the way up to O'Reilly's Mountain, and then there's a little discreet turn off along a dirt road. Just follow it. Well worth the trip.
Phil Verdouw, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story, mate. I really appreciate your time. You are absolutely filled with wisdom.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful to be here.